The holiday decorations may be packed away, but the ghost of Christmas spending is still haunting us, along with past splurges and future bills. Schoolsfirst Federal Credit Union is here to help us banish those financial ghosts and start the year financially in control. Let's welcome Tammura Thomas, Fruitridge Branch Manager at Schoolsfirst Federal Credit Union. Hi, Tammura.
Hello. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So, Tammura, even though it's the new year, post-holiday money struggles can be kind of a scary story. So can you tell us, what should we do?
Yeah, so right now we're all getting those post-holiday spending credit card statements, right? And what a fright, what a scary thing that can be. I think it's really important to remember you're not alone. I think sometimes debt can feel very isolating. In fact, spending, according to Forrester, was over $1 trillion during this holiday season, and that's just such a crazy number if you try to rationalize it. But it was up 3.7, I think, percent over last year. So you're not alone in that spending. So what's really going to be important is not to feel overwhelmed, but to look at what we can do to kind of start tackling.
I feel like that's one of the things I noticed. Like, I was going to say no holiday spending, and then I bought some things here and there, and they just add up.
Yes, they do.
So what's the first step people should take when facing that holiday debt?
I think, like anything, you can't address it unless you kind of know where you stand. So the first thing you're going to want to do is kind of take inventory of the debt that you have. So this is a really great time to look at your credit card statements, kind of, you know, on a separate piece of paper in your computer, however you do it. Let's write down your balances that you have on these cards, what your interest rates are on these cards, and what your monthly payment is, because this is the time where you're going to kind of want to put some strategies in place to kind of help pay off that debt.
Kind of facing the fear, not just ignoring it, like, oh, we'll get to that later.
I'm just going to make the minimum payment and it will go away. Yeah, you don't want to do that. It's a really good time to face kind of where you're at, so you can figure out how to tackle that.
Yes. Okay, so once you have that clear picture, what are the options for tackling this debt?
So there are different options, and it's really going to depend on you. So some of the options are going to be maybe taking that credit card debt and moving it to a lower fixed rate personal loan, right? That's always a great option for you, as long as you're in good spending habits and you use your credit wisely, right? You can also look at taking your balances and transferring them to a card that has a lower interest rate or a 0% interest rate. A lot of that is going to depend on your credit, though, how much debt you have, how are you making payments. So if that's not going to be a viable option for you, it's a really good time to look at your budget and see maybe where you have some extra money that you can kind of put, now that we have all of our credit listed, we know where we're going to make the biggest impact, and kind of just start, you know, showing progress on one of those cards is going to be really helpful. So if a loan isn't your option, let's look at where you have extra money to move over to your credit cards.
And those 0% interest rates, they're so helpful, especially if it's like, hey, for the first 12 months, then you can really tackle that debt without being charged
and you can
that
see
interest.
It. That's the best. I think, you know, it's a mind thing. You need to see the progress being made. So wherever you can see that, let's focus there.
So let's talk about strategies for staying on track with debt repayment. What advice do you have?
So this is a really good time to practice mindful spending, right? So you want to look at kind of what are you purchasing, kind of what are your needs and what are your wants, and really focus on just, you know, buying the things that you need. There's this thing called the 30-day period, where if you're thinking about a big purchase, wait 30 days and see after those 30 days, is this still something you need? It's also a really good time to think about some temporary lifestyle changes when you're trying to tackle debt. So do you have subscriptions that maybe you don't need? Are you eating out more than you should, or indulging in that morning coffee a little too much? This might be a good time to pause those things and take those funds and kind of divert them to your debt so that you can start tackling. It's also a really good time to remember you still want to focus on savings, and I know that that's so hard to think about when we're paying off debt, but let's kind of get in the habit of putting money away so that potentially we don't have to lean on those cards so much in the future.
And hopefully it's more possible, because I mean, hopefully this time of year is more slower. I mean, November, December, I feel like things get really ramped up with holiday spending. So hopefully there's a little more breathing room to kind of not do as much online shopping. I'm talking about myself.
I'm hearing you. I feel seen.
Any final tips you can help us out with, Tammura?
I think one thing to think about, and we don't think about the holiday seasons until they're here, right? And so once you get a handle on that debt, it's a really good time to start thinking about, what do I want to spend next year, and start saving and preparing for that now, so that the next holiday season you potentially can stay away from or not put as much onto your credit cards and things like that. So it's a good time to just be mindful of what you're spending and start saving for next year, because the holidays come around every year. And
maybe, I mean, now we're thinking tax returns coming up, maybe thinking about saving that, not spending all of it. So things to consider. Tammura, thanks for these helpful tips.
Of course, Desiree, thank you.
Of course, and you can visit one of the many Schoolsfirst Federal Credit Union branch locations as seen on the screen. And you can find out more online by going to schoolsfirstfcu.org.